So, I'm Yessie, and this is my presentation, and this is my sister,
Hi.
who I'm presenting to while we're in quarantine. So, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Try. Okay. Can you see okay? Yeah, okay. Okay, so, do you know how long we're supposed to brush our teeth?
If I remember, like 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay, okay. Very good. We are supposed to brush our teeth for 2 minutes. Do you know how long on each side of the mouth? No. So 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, ideally. That way it can distribute it evenly. But yeah, very good. 2 minutes. Do you know how long 2 minutes kind of feels like?
It's pretty long.
Pretty long. Do you have a timer? Yeah, okay. Well, if you don't have a timer, just know that the Shiny Teeth in Me song is exactly 2 minutes. So anytime you have to go brush your teeth, you can play that song and brush your teeth until that song is over, and then that's how you know you're like, okay, I'm done. Well, you should be done.
Yeah.
And do you know how many times a day you're supposed to brush your teeth?
2 times a day?
Yeah. 2 times a day. So if you have any kind of trouble remembering it, or if you have any friends that have a hard time remembering it, just remember teeth for 2. So you brush your teeth 2 times daily for 2 minutes, and that's about it. So with all this brushing, do you know when you're supposed to replace your toothbrush, or how often at least?
Every month?
That's a good guess. So basically, we need a new toothbrush anytime the little bristles kind of look a little frayed, so they look a little sporadic, like they're doing a ballerina. Or anytime, like sometimes toothbrushes have this little blue indicator strip, and that kind of tends to fade over time. So those are good indicators, or every 3 months. So basically, whenever your toothbrush is frayed, the little color indicator is faded, or every 3 months. That's basically when you need a new toothbrush. So, without cheating, which toothbrush is old?
The one on the right.
Right, okay. Which toothbrush is old?
The one on the right?
Yes. I know the picture's a little confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you might ask, like, what happens if I don't brush or floss my teeth regularly? And a lot of people or kids your age really don't brush or floss regularly, which is, it's a teenage thing, I think. But what can happen is you can get plaque on your teeth, which is, when you're done eating and you get like that fuzzy feeling on your teeth, like those fuzzy slippers?
Yeah.
So that's plaque. That's basically just a layer of bacteria, and that starts to form anywhere from like 4 to 12 hours. So anytime you're done eating, 4 to 12 hours after, a layer of bacteria starts to form on your teeth, and that's called plaque. But when you leave plaque on the surface of your teeth too long, it can start to harden, and that turns into tartar, which most people kind of call calculus. So it's like hard plaque, and that usually starts to harden after 48 hours. So it doesn't take very long for plaque to go to tartar. It's actually really quick. So that's why it's super important that you're always brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth. You want to stop that plaque as many times as you can, basically. Because those suckers, they're like, oh, we're plaque, we're attached to your teeth, and then they just get going. So, so if you don't brush or floss your teeth regularly, the plaque can turn to tartar. And with these two, you can actually get cavities or gingivitis. We'll talk about that in our next slide here. Do you need time to catch up with your notes?
Nope, I'm good.
And she's also taking notes, by the way. Okay. So like I said, when you don't brush your teeth and floss them regularly, you can get plaque and tartar, and that can lead to cavities. So cavities, they're also called caries. So if you ever walk into a dental office, we'll probably call them caries or carious lesions. That's what they're also called. And basically, what they are is that they're little holes in your teeth that are caused by enamel breaking down on like the inside of the tooth, and it starts to kind of rot. And so enamel, I don't know if you can see in this little diagram here. So the enamel is the most outer part of the tooth right there, and it's the hardest. But the only thing is that it can't stand up to acid, and that's basically how cavities start. It happens because of acid. So you might ask, okay, well, what causes cavities? It's not just candy. Some people may think it's just sugar. It's not just sugar. It's not just candy. It's actually sugar plus the bacteria in your mouth. So then the bacteria in your mouth likes to eat the sugar, and basically it releases acid. So here's a little diagram, because I know that can kind of be a tricky concept to understand. So the plaque, you know, the fuzzy feeling, the layer of bacteria on your teeth, likes to eat sugar. So when you eat sugar or anything like crackers and stuff that kind of sits on your teeth, it likes to eat that, and then it basically releases acid. And then that acid gets on the outer surface of the enamel, and then it starts to kind of rot. So basically it's the acid that really causes the soft spots in your teeth, and those soft spots are also called demineralization, which is a fancy word for basically a soft spot. Yeah. And if you ever walk into a dental office, if you ever hear like demon, that just means like a soft spot, like you're starting to get a cavity. Do you have any questions? I know it's it might be a confusing slide.
It's a lot to process.
A lot to process. I know, that's why I'm like, you need a minute to catch up on your notes.
Because I really thought it was just sugar.
Right? Everyone thinks it's just sugar, it's just candy, but really it's like the bacteria in your mouth, and you have that plaque, plus the sugar. And then that, basically those bacteria poop acid on your teeth. And then basically all that poop is what's like is what's messing up your enamel, is what's really rough on the enamel there. And that's what causes demineralization, because our teeth are made of lots of minerals, like hardened minerals. Okay, so like I said, when you don't brush or floss your teeth, besides cavities, you can also get gingivitis. Do you know what that is?
No.
No? Okay. So we'll break it down for you. So basically, ginge means like gums, and then itis means like inflammation. So anytime you hear like a word that has itis at the end, just know it means like inflammation of, and then ginge means gums. Yeah. Which I know gingivitis kind of sounds like, you know, gingerbread cookies, but it's not. It's a gum infection basically. And so some people might ask like what causes it. And again, it kind of goes back to the plaque. Plaque basically triggers an immune response in your mouth and your gums, and it can lead to destruction of gum tissue. And it can like, if it progresses for too long, like if you have gingivitis for too long, it can progress to further complications, like you could lose teeth because of that. So some signs of gingivitis are when the gums are red, kind of like right here where the arrows are pointing to, when they're puffy, when they're bleeding, so when you're bleeding, when you're brushing your teeth and you bleed a little bit, when they're a little tender to the touch, or you can also have bad breath. So any of these could mean a sign that you have gingivitis. Let's see here. So like I said, basically the plaque that's in your mouth, it kind of irritates your gums. Like your gums don't like it. They like to be clean and happy, and so when there's any kind of plaque or leftover food that turns into plaque, your gums get irritated, and it sends like these immune response cells to that area. And it's kind of weird, but that's kind of what causes the gingivitis. But the more you brush and the more you floss, obviously you're going to get some blood. But that's good though. That means you want to, you know, kind of make sure you get all the blood out, you get all the plaque, all of that stuff out, so you can get new and healthy tissue. Kind of like that. It's supposed to be nice. See how it's like not really red and like very like pointy gums, if that makes sense. So like right here, nice and pointy. It's not really puffy. It's not really bleeding. Kind of like how these are really puffy and red, if that makes sense. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. If you do, you can always go back. It's okay. So remember how I said if you let gingivitis go on for too long, it can lead to tooth loss? Okay. So there's an actual term for tooth loss because of infection. So it's called periodontitis. Sorry, not periodontitis. That's a dentist that deals with this. Periodontitis. So basically, I'll break it down for you. Peri, the medical term for peri means around the tooth. Odont, so anytime you hear like odont, like odontoblast, odontoclast, things like that, it's going to refer to the bone. So perio means around, odont means bone, and then remember itis means inflammation of. So basically, it's an infection of everything kind of around your tooth, that structure that holds in your tooth. There's inflammation and an infection going on in there. And so basically, when gum disease is beginning, you get like a small little red pocket, which is like the gingivitis, and that pocket forms where the tooth kind of meets the gum. I like this little diagram because it kind of shows the gum pocket, so like the little pocket there. It starts to get kind of red right in there, and then germs and food collect in the gum, and they make acid. So like I was saying, acid starts to form when there's a lot of plaque left over. And this kind of makes the gum sore, like we were talking about. And so if this goes on for too long, it's kind of weird, but the gums start to kind of pull away from all the bacteria. So like that little thing right there is the tartar and plaque. So the gums kind of start to pull away from it. And then the pocket gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and the bone moves away from the infection. So as the gums are going down, the bone is going down too. So the gums are going down, the bone is going down, and then as it's going down, 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 there's literally nothing left for the tooth to sit in because it sits in bone. So it's kind of like the example, like when someone is coughing or sneezing and they're not covering their mouth, like what do? You're going to run the other way.
Yeah.
You're going to go away. And so that's kind of the same thing. The germs are attacking your tooth, so the bone kind of like runs away in a sense. And if you let this go on for too long, periodontitis, which is, infection of this, where there's bone loss, it can lead to tooth loss. So the major difference between gingivitis, though, is basically it's like an infection in your gums, inflammation of the gums, and then periodontitis is the same thing, but that's when you get bone loss. So the bone starts to kind of go down. Crazy, right?
Very.
Okay. Do you have any questions before we go on to the next slide?
Do people usually confuse that and gingivitis?
Yes, they do. And as students, we confuse both terms as well, especially the first year. Basically, gingivitis, the best way for us to remember is that gingivitis means it's in the gums, but you still have all the bone left. Like, no bone has gone down. Once you're in periodontitis, that means you have deeper pockets. So when you go into the dentist and they stick, or I don't know if they've done this with you because you're kind of young, but they stick like a little measuring ruler in your gums and they go like 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3. Or I don't know if you've heard of that.
I don't think I have.
No, okay. You probably will when you're 18. And when you're 18, you want to usually stick to numbers 1 to 3. So that means that how deep the pocket is. So they'll so this is the tooth, and then my watch is the gums, and so they'll stick a little thing in there. And the deepest you want to be is like a 3. So anything deeper than that, like 4s, 5s, 6s, kind of all around, that means there's a deep pocket going on and you got some bone loss, so you have periodontitis. Yeah. Sometimes you can get 4s, and that just means your gums are swollen, and that's okay. But once you start hitting 5s and 6s, that's when you start getting bone loss, and that's when we need to kind of start taking into gear our brushing habits and our flossing. Okay, so we'll go over nutrition. So, because this kind of has a lot to do with basically our oral health care. So, I know a lot of people think that you get cavities from just sugar, but as I explained, you get it from food plus the bacteria that pooped acid, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a difference between carbs. There's complex carbs and simple carbs. Basically, with complex carbs, those are the carbs that you really want. So it's like your vegetables, some fruits, potatoes, nuts, things like that. Those kind of carbs don't really break down as quickly as simple carbs. Simple carbs are like refined sugar, which trying to break it down, it's basically all sugar, like cookies and soda, French fries, breads, donuts. That's a lot. It's basically sugar.
Yeah.
It breaks down and it's just sugar. And these kind of carbs are what the bacteria feeds on in your mouth, and then that's what leaks the acid. And so that's why it's really important to really make sure you have like a balanced overall well diet, so they don't break down into simple sugars and the bacteria can't really feed on them as well. And then especially when you're eating foods like apples and things like that, they kind of stimulate the saliva going on in your mouth, so it kind of helps cleanse it out a little bit. And then a fun fact, so whenever you eat anything, your mouth automatically comes under acid attack for 30 minutes. So the pH in your mouth drops, and then your mouth is under, like your teeth are under attack for about 30 minutes. And that's usually the same whenever you drink anything besides water. So if you're ever drinking like juice or coffee or energy drinks, usually your mouth is under attack for about 20 minutes, give or take. Same thing. So it takes about 20 minutes before your mouth starts to neutralize again and your teeth are kind of in the okay zone again.
Wow.
Crazy, right? So that's why snacking is so bad, because like you eat for a little bit and then 20 minutes later you're like, okay, a little bit again, and then it's like your poor teeth, like they never get a break. Crazy though. Okay. So, coming up on the last slide here. So, but luckily there's a lot of ways to prevent it. So like I said, brushing and flossing, the best way to get rid of, prevent all of this is to just kind of stop plaque in its tracks. And you want to stop it as much as possible. So twice a day is usually pretty well. Ideally 3 times a day would be great, but we understand, sometimes life gets busy. So brushing and flossing, it's just best to kind of stop the plaque before it, turns into plaque, and then it turns into tartar. And then with tartar, you have to go to the dentist for them to take it off. Yeah. Another good way is, like I mentioned before, good nutrition, making sure you're having a balanced overall well diet. Staying away from those simple carbs. You really want the complex carbs. Those are the better ones. They keep you fuller longer too, so you're not constantly snacking, like I said, and then your teeth are under constant attack. Another good way is sealants. Do you know what those are? Yeah, okay. So that's a good way. I don't know if you can tell in this photo how like deep the little grooves in your teeth are, and then after a sealant, it's nice and smooth. That way when you're brushing, it's a lot less likely for food to kind of get stuck in those nooks and crannies. Another good way is fluoride. I think we have fluoride in our water system, so drinking tap water, using toothpaste or mouthwashes that have fluoride. And then whenever you go to the dentist, they apply that sticky stuff on your teeth. That's fluoride, so that's good for you also. And another neat trick that I learned in school too was that Trident, they have sugar-free gum. Chew on sugar-free gum after you're done eating, and that kind of helps too. But it has to be sugar-free.
Okay.
It can't be like the Hubba Bubba kind. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm all good.
You okay? Okay. So now we've approached our last slide. Yay! So now this is the part where, do you have any other questions about the overall presentation or anything else that you might be a little confused on? Not really? Okay. I was like, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So, now that the presentation's over, so now that the presentation's over, I actually made a little crossword puzzle for her to use. Let me see, how do I flip the camera? Do you know how to flip it?
Once it starts recording, you can't flip
Oh, you can't flip it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, maybe I'll do this. So I made a little crossword puzzle, and it's about basically the presentation I just went over, and in order for her to get all of the terminology is in the presentation in PowerPoint. Sorry if this is a little blurry. I can always email you the crossword puzzle and the answer key too. So while she does that, I have a little experiment also planned. It's right here. Let me open the door real quick, because you can see it better when there's natural sunlight. Okay. Okay. So there's no way to turn it over? Okay. So basically, I'm going to explain to my sister. I have a little experiment here. I don't know if you can kind of see it. So I have 2 little containers. There we go. No. So this one has water basically, and this one has vinegar, which is very acidic. And I have 2 tablets of Tums. Tums are basically made of calcium, which is one of the minerals found in our teeth. So I thought this was a really good visual to kind of see what happens when Tums is left in water and vinegar for a couple minutes, and it kind of gives the analogy of what can happen to our teeth when water hits it, or when vinegar, when we're drinking very acidic or eating very acidic foods, can happen to it. So I thought this would be a fun little experiment while she does her crossword puzzle. So would you mind holding that? Or actually, go ahead and here, I'm trying to figure it out real quick. So let's do that. Okay. And go ahead and stand over there, and I'll let you do it. Okay. I'll let you do the water, and we'll do the vinegar at the same time. Ready? Go. 3, 2, 1, drop. And right away, is the angle really good? Can you see it? Okay. So right away, you can see that the water, no effect to the Tums tablet. And the vinegar, oh my gosh, it's disintegrating. It's super harsh on the Tums tablet. So we're going to kind of let that simmer while she does her crossword puzzle. But right away, this I thought was a great analogy for her to kind of see like how acidity in foods and drinks can have an effect on your teeth, which is calcium, which is one of the minerals in our teeth. And then again, I have this crossword puzzle for her to complete while we watch that. Okay. So I'll go ahead and let you finish that. I don't know if you can see it. Oh my goodness, I didn't know you couldn't flip the camera once it started. Can get a close-up of the experiment. Okay. So that one is bubbling on the top. Here's the vinegar. Look at that tablet go. And I think it's only been 2 minutes. Water. No changes. But as you can see, that vinegar is just so corrosive. That poor tablet. How's the crossword puzzle so far? Hopefully it's not too bad. No, not too bad. Okay, and so actually she's made pretty good progress. She's gotten like 4 words already, so not too bad, and she's got her notes over there. So usually, ideally in like a classroom, I would wait maybe like 5 more minutes for them to like really complete the crossword puzzle. And then at the end, I would give them this exit slip, which it says, what did you learn from today that you didn't know prior? What is one thing that you found interesting? And then what is something that you can do from now on to better your oral health care? And so I will give her this to complete right before she has to leave class, I guess you would say. That way, when I get these back, I can kind of gauge, like, you know, what did she learn? What did she actually enjoy? And then I can better gauge and maybe better my PowerPoint for next time if I do actually get to go into a classroom and present next time. But yeah, that's my presentation. Say bye. Bye. Bye.